Hello, and thank you for joining us today. We are talking about the evidence that confirms that we are living in the end times. And that evidence can be found right in God's Word. The reading of His Word, just read it, take a literal meaning of many of the verses, and you will see that we are in the end times, the times just before Christ returns. So now we're going to look at 2 Timothy chapter 3. Just a moment, we're going to see the pattern that they follow is the pattern from the Old Testament in Exodus chapter 7, where the magicians of Egypt pushed back against Moses. And it tells us that's what the framework will be. It says, "This know also that in the last days perilous times shall come." That's verse 1. I skipped down to verse 8. "Now, as Jannes and Jambres withstood Moses, so do these, the people of the last days, resist the truth." So they, people of the last days, resist the truth as Jannes and Jambres withstood Moses. But it also says there in the red, it says, "Their folly shall be manifest unto all, as theirs also was." So we'll see that while the people of the last days will do what Jannes and Jambres did, will follow that pattern, their end will also follow the same pattern. And what we saw was that the magicians of Egypt, what they did to Moses, how they resisted him, was they also did in like manner with their enchantments. They cast down their rods. It says, "For they cast down every man his rod, and they became serpents." But the end that will be the same for the people of the last days is that Aaron's rod swallowed up their rods. And we can see this in the timeline today. We can see that this has come to pass, confirming that we are in the end times. So what happened with Jannes and Jambres? Before Jannes and Jambres came on the scene, before Moses went into Pharaoh's court, there was 400 years. God had told Abram, he said, "Know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land not theirs." That is what happened. "And they shall afflict them 400 years. That's the pattern. That's part of the pattern of the magicians of Egypt, this 400-year period before Moses comes. And after that, we see that the Jannes and Jambres withstood Moses, and then the plagues came upon Egypt. This is the pattern. And as we see that, we see in our time, you see Columbus 1492, and that verse applies. "Now, as Jannes and Jambres withstood Moses, so do these also resist the truth." It's the same pattern. So 1492, the seed of Abraham in a land not theirs. 400 years go by. Then the World's Columbian Exposition. The World's Columbian Exposition is where they build the Magic City. It is the World's Fair, the Chicago World's Fair of 1893, and the big attraction for the World's Fair was electricity. There was electricity at the World's Fair. The electricity at the World's Fair was brought to you by the electrical wizards, the magicians of the modern age. Tesla invented the AC motor that we still use today. And Thomas Edison, great inventor in his own right. Wizards is what they were called. And what did they do? They cast down their rods. This is a statue from the Magic City, from the World's Columbian Expo. And you can see it is the second largest statue at the time behind the Statue of Liberty, and it has a rod in its hand. The reason it has the rod in its hand is because they are casting down their rods against the truth, and they built the Magic City. The Magic City, the first large-scale electrified city, and they built that. And what happened? After that, the technology spread across the nation, and they wired up the whole nation. They have electrical wires running all over the place into the house. You are swallowed up, consumed. You are swallowed by electrical wires. And those electrical wires are the vine of the last day. That, coupled with the fields, the Wi-Fi, the radio, for their vine, of the vine of Sodom and of the fields of Gomorrah. This is the vine of the last days. This is what the magicians have done. The magicians of the last days have made a vine. They have done in like manner with their enchantments, because Christ is the true vine. And they have made a vine unto themselves. And they have become the branches in that vine. They are supposed to be the branches in the vine of Christ and produce much fruit of the Spirit, but they have become the branches in this electrical vine, and they have produced much fruit, literal fruit, Apple devices. They have produced much fruit, and it's stacked up all around us. They are the branches in their vine, but without their vine, they can do nothing. This is exactly what God said it would be. He said it would be like this. He said that they would do this in the last days, and they have made a vine. In fact, they have their own foundation. It is not Christ. Electricity is the world's foundation. And their cornerstone is not Christ. He is the precious corner, but they have set up electricity as the cornerstone of their kingdom. And Christ is the light of the world, and we know that electricity is the light of the world in this modern era. And we look around you, and their power hangs upon their cross. The preaching of the cross to us is power, but to them, they hang their power upon their cross. And we see this because it is the last days, so we can see this now. We see the writing on the wall. We see the pattern coming to pass, just like with the magicians of Egypt, when they cast down their rods, when they resisted Moses. What happened after that were the plagues. In our time, we have the same thing, the World's Columbian Exposition, the Magic City. And as that rolls out, as that continues, we will be entering into the tribulation. The world will be entering into the tribulation. As we see, that's what's coming next. That is what the pattern has said. And if we look at the tribulation and the plagues and compare the two, we see that they are very much alike. The water becomes blood, frogs, lice, flies, the food source destroyed, boils, hail, locusts, darkness, all of it are both in the tribulation and in the plagues of Egypt. Now, some of those, I think it's Revelation 11:6 says they have all manner of plagues upon them. So we see this. We see all these, including the death of the firstborn, which we don't see here in the tribulation on this chart, but the people that come against Christ, the nations that come against Christ will be wiped out. That will be the death of the firstborn. The writing is on the wall. The writing's on the wall for our generation, and we can see it. The writing is on the wall, and it's in the history books. We can look back and see this happening. We can see that they have done in like manner with their enchantments, including the timeline. The writing is on the wall for us. The writing is on the wall for our generation. We can see this. We can see that Christ's return is soon. We can see the world rise up. We can see the world preparing herself to meet him. We can see the rise of the beast, the Antichrist system, the beast rising out of the sea. We can see it with our eyes, and we know that the time is short and that Christ's return is soon. Thank you for watching, and please like this video. You can see all my videos at yeshuaiscoming.com or at signoffire.com. Thank you very much.